On this Veterans Day, we celebrate, honor, and thank those who served our country. And in this episode, learn about how our parks and public lands provide opportunities for community, camaraderie, and healing. Join me as we explore Sierra Club's Military Outdoors program. I'm your host, Missy Rentz, and this is the Parks Podcast. I am really excited for this episode. We are celebrating Veterans Day with Sherman Neal II. Sherman is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and the Deputy Director of Sierra Club's Military Outdoors. Sherman, welcome to the Parks Podcast.
Appreciate having me, Missy.
Sherman, first of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Sierra Club launched Military Outdoors in 2006. Can you tell me about the program?
Yes, I appreciate asking about the start. So the veterans have always had a role in the Sierra Club from its existence, essentially. So the first executive director for the Sierra Club, David Brower, was actually an Army veteran. He was a World War II veteran, and some of their outings involved mountaineering and training, and he was in the 10th Mountain Division. So there's a long lineage that goes beyond the 20 years. And with our celebrating 20 years this year, the program originated in 2006. And if you take yourself back to 2006, that's the peak of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, and really a lot of real kinetic action going on the battle space. So the program actually began as the Military Families Initiative, and there were outings that brought together military families outdoors and intentionally put together some programming to help the people that were in the rear, mostly the families. As the military mission evolved, the program also evolved. And so from those outings that started, we started ingraining the program into our Sierra Club chapters. We have 64 chapters across the country, and we're actively working in 12, but generally work across the spectrum there. And now the program is built on that, the Military Families Initiative, to now working with active duty, working with veterans, and working with the military community generally. And it also has added an advocacy element to it. So at the state level, local level, and federal level, we are pushing for legislation that, increases equitable access to the outdoors. A lot of the issues that most people share when it comes to access are exponentially higher for veterans just due to their experiences, physical harms, mental harms, and just separation, frankly, and things that come with the life. A long explanation of the programs evolved to meet the moment that we're in, as we're doing right now.
And so it was to meet the need, which I love that there was this awareness that the Sierra Club saw that need. I love that. How did they start it? Was it just a grassroots sort of, hey, there's a need, let's go?
Yes, so our program is nested under the Outdoors for All campaign at the Sierra Club, where we're generally pushing for equitable access to the outdoors. We believe that every person has a right to enjoy public lands and then access to the outdoors and feel welcome in the outdoors. And underneath that umbrella, we had a couple predecessors ago. So in 2006, as that need or that heightened need came due to the kinetic nature of war at the time, there was an opportunity from a funding standpoint, from what the nation saw as a need standpoint, and the alignment with some of the goals for Outdoors for All, for the military families and veterans to be a part of that work. It was just a natural fit for us, and it's been interesting to me to see how that's worked in this Sierra Club. I thought that there would be, initially, to be honest, I thought there would be some trepidation when you're talking about conservation, some of the things that the Sierra Club advocates for and what people see externally. And that just hasn't been the case. We've seen how seamless it is to bring a veteran outside and the appreciation that they already have for what the outdoors brings to them, from a sense of awe, from a sense of peace, from a sense of healing, and just building connection with other people outside.
I think it is such a beautiful program. And in researching this, I have a greater appreciation for the massive amounts of work that are done by the Sierra Club. And I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. I want to just go a little bit more broadly on outdoor space, because outdoor space, nature, adventure, they can all be healing. I in episodes have talked about the parks, I use the parks very broadly for public land and outdoor space. There's a physical, mental, and emotional healing that can take place outdoors. And whether it's like moving our bodies or the stress hormones or building community or whatever it is, it's healing. Science has told us this. Why is nature and our parks and public lands so valuable specifically to military members?
That's a great question. I would say personally for me, the first thing that comes to mind, I'm biased as a Marine. And on Monday, I know we celebrate Veterans Day, and that's important to the United States, but the biggest thing to a Marine in the Marine Corps is the Marine Corps' birthday, which is on November 10th every year, going back to 1775, meaning that this year is our 250th anniversary. And I bring that up not to go to Marine Corps nostalgia, but one of the most vivid memories I have as a Marine is I think in 2018 on my second deployment, I was in Western Iraq, close to the Syrian border, with a company of Marines, some soldiers, some French soldiers, and I think there's some Dutch soldiers, a NATO force out there. And one of the missions that I had to complete, I thought was trivial at the time, was flying in a birthday cake on an Osprey helicopter to the middle of Iraq so we can celebrate the Marine Corps birthday. And being completely isolated with no communications, those 250 or so men and women coming together outside to chop it up on a rock and balancing our cake on that rock. And that's the exact type of thing that you can do outside, whether that's your backyard, whether that's Yosemite if you have the resources, whether that's on the kayak and you're eating M&Ms while you're in between paddling. And so I think that synergy is just naturally there for veterans. And just like outside, when you go outside and it's raining and you're like, how did this happen? And it's a miserable time, you end up laughing about it a month or so later. It's the same thing with service. The things that we complained about, mad about, questioning life, those are the things we text about in the group chat now.
Yeah.
And so it's just another space to do that's just a natural.
It is funny because the most frustrating hikes or whatever do tend to be the ones that are the best memory makers too, like those that challenge us and push us out of our comfort zones.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it takes some time, a little bit more time when
I'm
stress
sure. You
everything else, but it's just really, I see that. And one of the cool things about the program being nested in the Sierra Club is it's probably not a mystery that my views on politics, my views on who I am as a person, frankly, as a Black Marine Corps officer, we're a rarity in the Marine Corps, don't always align with things. And so the cool thing about the program here is what we're seeing from an affinity group standpoint, like the intentionality in when we talk about equitable access and being able to find versions of me and bring them together. One of the coolest thing about our program is about 48% of the people that we serve are women. We found that out from a survey that we did. Women only make up about 11% of the veteran population right now. So there's something that we are doing that makes people feel more comfortable with the Sierra Club and feel comfortable being outside. And right now, that's when we're talking about meeting the moment, we know the populations that are under threat of erasure, facing increased mental health issues. And we're digging into why it is and how it is that we're serving people that makes them feel welcome under the umbrella of the Sierra Club, wherever they're at.
Okay, so if there's that big of a discrepancy, are those women coming from military families or are there non-military that participate in the military outdoor program?
That's a great question. So it's an all of the above. We see that with the service members, the women that served in the military, spanning from Vietnam era down to global war on terrorism. From a, I like to say I borrowed the tagline from USA saying we serve the military community because our outings aren't limited to veterans, military families, or active duty. We're not checking IDs. In fact, we think it's healthy to see those groups come together with their community members. We know that 58% of veterans have been diagnosed with some type of mental health disorder. That's about 1.2 million people right now at the VA. We know that right now the VA is overwhelmed, and we know that there are people that want to help veterans, and using the outdoors as a backdrop allows us to bring in service providers to see our theory of change at work in the outdoors and design their own programs to complement what's going on for our veterans. A good example of that is in Los Angeles, we have a program called Sierra Thrives, and that is actually run by a family therapist. And she brings together a cohort of about 20 mixed members of the community, whether it's veterans, other service providers, or just Sierra Club members, educates them about their public lands at different locations, gives them some training so they can become outdoor leaders, and then adds some specific teaching points that relate to the veteran community and how to address their needs into their work. So we're trying to be a force multiplier in the community there.
Wow, that's powerful. How do you convince someone that being outside is good for them?
There's, to me, I don't know if this is politically correct, is forcibly taking them outside.
Okay.
So we have to, the same way that the Marine Corps can recruit me and convince me that I need to go outside to support, defend the Constitution of the United States, is the same way we need to convince people to support and defend their own mental health. My introduction to the Sierra Club, I'll admit, when I left service in 2019, I didn't want to have anything to do with the Marine Corps, veteran community, and the military. And it took a couple of years until connected with one of my colleagues now, who now works for the Sierra Club, who said, "Hey, there's a spot open on this whitewater rafting trip on the Salmon River with an organization called Team River Runner." I hesitated because I was like, who am I going to be with for 5 days to go on this 50-mile thing? I don't want to hear about sea stories and all that stuff. And I signed up because he recruited me and took me outside forcibly. One of the facilitators on that trip, his name's Lornette Bestel, who's now a coworker of mine, was one of the guides. And this job didn't exist. I didn't know these types of jobs existed at the time. I went on the river. It was awesome. It was transformational. And when I got back 2 weeks later, I got laid off from the job that I was working at. And rather than go into the LinkedIn rat race and apply for 30 jobs a day, I took time and I was like, you know what? That was one of the coolest things I've ever done. I was at peace, and maybe this is a sign. And then this job opened up. And so that is how I like to believe that I'm a model for the ladder of engagement we want to see. And hey, if you just get them outside, have them spend time in nature with people who empathize with what they're going through, they will fall in love with it. I've never had or heard of somebody come back saying, you know what,
Yeah.
I hate my experience. Or I have heard people come back and say, it would be awesome if we can do it this way or at this place.
Mhm.
And the best part about our program is it's not rigid. If your thing is Minnesota and ice fishing, we can do that for you. I did that. It's pretty cold. It's not for everybody. If your thing is playing cornhole in the backyard and because you're a group of veterans at a subsidized housing complex and you just want to have a barbecue and be in the sun, we can do that too. And it's going over class 4 rapids isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Water kayaking isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
We like to design it for the moment, again, for the people.
And that's one thing in my research and going through kind of each of the program's web pages and seeing the different things that are offered. Sometimes it's a picnic. I think that one of the things I'm trying to help people become aware of is the outdoors isn't extreme. It doesn't have to be. In fact, there was research out recently that 95% of outdoor users are entry level or just casually active. There's only 5% that's like hardcore mountain climbers, bikers, whatever the case may be. And I love that you're just advocating to be outside. And what a powerful statement that whatever it is about the outdoors and the community that you create, a picnic might be the healing thing you need, or to your point, cornhole, or it could be a class 5 rapid, which is really cool. So does
Yep.
each chapter create their own initiatives based off of what's needed in those communities, or is there a set structure that no matter where you are in the country, this is how you're going to experience military outdoor?
There is no set structure. So the formal process is we reach out to a chapter, chapter consults with their outings leaders, and they return with a statement of work on this is what we would like to do. And all we are trying to do at the national level is use any influence that we have to help make what they want to do happen. And that's taken a lot of Googling on my part to
Mm.
look at different parts, look at different type of activities, and frankly, to check my own bias in a lot of ways. When we talk about different outings can look like I'm an able-bodied, I think I'm sane. I probably have some issues there, but what does it look like to look at an outing design for people that aren't in that population, given how wide of a range that we serve? And it's just been really cool and enlightening to see our groups in the Bay Area where we're working with veterans and pole walking directly out of the VA. Whereas in other places, like I said, we have folks in Minnesota with no jacket on, ice fishing and then going sailing or something. And so I couldn't do either of those activities. I can't walk with poles and I didn't know how to sail. And like, so I had the opportunity to learn both. So it's truly at the discretion of the chapter and the personalities there.
Yeah. I was just at a conference with the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, and then a couple months ago, I was in one in North Carolina, but it is really amazing the work that's being done in our state parks for accessibility. It's clearly such a priority, so it's really nice to see that happen for anybody, but certainly our veterans that many have accessibility issues.
Yes. And when we talk about the ladder of engagement, to use organizing terms, it's when we advocate for tracked wheelchairs and placement of more of those in more parks, and we have a veteran that gets to use one of those chairs, it doesn't take much to help them understand, like, hey, do you know how powerful your voice would be, not just for you in the veteran community, but for other people throughout your community to just talk about what this meant for you to be outside and go bow hunting off a wheelchair or accessing this trail. And that's the, I'll say, most awesome part from a leadership standpoint is seeing those people emerge, just like myself, frankly, in getting this position and how quickly the other skills that they have from being a veteran come to light in a way
Mm.
that they know how to use them before.
I bet I would be like some of the outings that I've done, would have been so much better off if I had a veteran and the experiences you all have. I think that so many of us lose out on survival skills and flexibility and pivoting because we no longer spend time outdoors. And that's such a great gift to have. What do you think are the common barriers for keeping people from going outside?
For us, number one is access, whether that's transportation to a spot that's outdoors. We have a report that we're going to release in the near future, and we took a look at 8 different cities. And in places like Atlanta and Jacksonville, we found that 44% of veterans don't have access to a green space within a 10-mile walk of their home in Atlanta and in Jacksonville. And so once we do some map overlays of the communities that are impacted the most, it doesn't take much to show that the transit routes, which impact everybody, but impact veterans disproportionately. When we talk about green canopy, urban greening, like they're the hotter areas in the town, air quality, etc. So that is from an access standpoint, that's the number one thing I believe that we need to address first is getting to the space. The next is when you can get there, awareness. And like I said, I thought that I didn't want to go in the outdoors with these types of groups, but that's because I wasn't aware of the military outdoors program, frankly, or the people that we partner with. So how do we get more information to more veterans in the right place, in the right time? So does that mean at when you're doing your out processing, you are physically handed in America the Beautiful pass and you're handed a map and you're saying like, hey, in your first 10 days, do this. It will change your life and probably change your trajectory on what you do. When we're how we're marketing, we talked about going from I think we had a Korean War veteran when I was in LA for an outing this year. And then we had a child of a Navy veteran on the same outing. How do you communicate to that wide
Yeah.
of a fan and engage? And something worked to get them there. It's something that we got to dive into. And it's definitely something that we need to communicate to local, state, federal, veteran affairs offices. And then the last prong, I would say, is the jobs. And so once we get access, once we make people aware, then the last stage is how do I not be the end of this? How do we communicate to people that 30% of the land management agencies, whether that's the Park Service, BLM, Forest Service, are veterans. Again, veterans make up, I think, 6% of the population. So there's a disproportionate amount of veterans that want to serve in these positions that are qualified, and we have to let them know that these pathways exist so you don't find out by luck like I did. And that would
Yeah.
really save lives there
Yeah.
and help the
And
country.
and I think I'm going to just suggest that if you're listening to this now, share it with any veterans. I think the more we can get the word out about military outdoors, the more exposure and the chances are people are going to start to join more and more of these activities. I think it's really important. And the information you're sharing is so valuable and so meaningful. I think it would be great for people to feel seen listening to you. I don't want to glaze over what you said earlier about outdoors for all. You have this, the Sierra Club broadly has this campaign, which I'd like for you to just tell us a little bit about. The name says all of it, but I want you to tell us about it. And Military Outdoors fully embraces this philosophy.
That's correct. And so we work in two different ways. Yes, we have our internal operations, but I also like to, like I said, anytime you can add a veteran voice, even with everything going on in the world, they're still some of the most trusted voices that we have in this country. And so when it comes to Outdoors for All, there's a couple different key campaigns that we talk about. One is belonging outdoors. And frankly, veterans across all eras don't feel welcome in a lot of spaces. And the same way that whether it's LGBTQ people, some youth people that are in urban areas, generally we have to look at what makes people feel like they belong outdoors and make the lands more welcome and inclusive. Another is we have a Transit to Trails campaign, which again, those same overlays that I talked about, in those uplifting those voices help those communities as well. Where I'm at in Atlanta, how do we look at marquee projects like the Atlanta Beltline? And how do we make sure that the access is equitable? We think about the, frankly, environmental justice concerns and incorporate transportation that helps mitigate that last tactical mile to get to a space. And then we also have nearby nature, again, where not everybody's going to go to Yosemite. Not everybody's going to go to Sweetwater State Park here in Georgia. How do we have pocket parks, and how do we make those pocket parks accessible? And where do we place them again on this map? And we have, again, those ideas come from the community. And then also we work with the Outdoor Alliance for Kids. And like I said, this program originated as a military families initiative. And there are some awesome organizations out there, Blue Star Families, the YMCA, that we work with to not forget about military kids. I'm personally invested in that myself, having two young kids. And just like I talked about the America the Beautiful pass and what that would have meant to me, what would it mean if the kids all had access to the Every Kids Outdoors pass and all fourth graders had it, or we just had all kids receive that? A lot of these military bases are in desolate places like 29 Palms, California, where I was at, but we're surrounded by the Mojave, Joshua Tree, Bryce Canyon's a couple hours away,
Yeah.
Valley. That education at that level too is cool. So I'm certain that I'm forgetting one of all the things that we work on, but like I said, it's a wide range of just connecting people to the
Yeah.
outdoors and ensuring that there's equitable access as well.
Yeah. Okay, so what else? You've mentioned the America the Beautiful Pass, which I love this idea that about making sure every military veteran has one. But other than that, what have you seen that helps aid current military and veterans to get outside?
Yes. So for current military, if we go 10 years or so ago to platoon commander Captain Neil, I was unaware of all of the resources that were available on base, not just for the Marines, but for their families. So basically, on base, there are resources for military members, military families to check out everything from kayaks to life jackets to hiking day packs, etc., to go outside. Because of the operational tempo, and because, frankly, as a 26-year-old captain trying to figure out how to keep people alive, I didn't know about a lot of those things. I didn't have a lot of time to think about it. And in retrospect, had I taken more time to connect some of those Marines, their families, and made sure that they had access to these places, we would have mitigated several issues. And that's statistically, we know that. So that's the active duty side to how do we connect to that. Then on the veteran side, we have some of the same issues. I think people sometimes forget that half of our military population is junior enlisted. So what does that mean? Is that half of the population is going to serve for one term, which is 4 years, and they're going to make an average of 33 to $40,000 annually. If we're talking about a park pass being raised from $5 to $10, or a reservation rate for an annual pass at a state level being 50 to 70 in Georgia, those are real impacts on people that frankly are using other benefits like SNAP right now. So there's a chain of things that this family of four, who again, these are mostly people under 30 years old, are
Yeah.
making decisions about on the weekend. And it sounds, I don't want to make it sound trivial, but there's am I going to stay in the barracks and go get a 24 pack of natty and hang out
Right.
there and amongst my peers? Or if there's a bus, if there's a service, if there's a directly, let's take you here, that 4 hours or so mitigates many of the issues that we can
Yeah.
see and exposes them. So that's the active duty side. And then from a veteran standpoint, again, like there's nobody guiding you through life once you leave. Once I left the gates of 29 Palms for the last time and drove across the country to Kentucky, I'm restarting my life. And so, how are we connecting with people during that time of peak vulnerability? How are we connecting with people who have mental, physical issues that may not manifest until later on? And one of those bullet points that stuck with me is 80% of veterans experience a traumatic brain injury, have been diagnosed with a mental health disorder. I played college football, I've crashed in military vehicles. I am certain that I'm in the 80%. I don't know what to do about that at this
Mm.
time. And when we talk about bringing service providers together on our outings, not us providing the service, but making a community thing, that might mitigate something. Another that's the God, I know I'm going on about this.
Oh, I love it. I love it, Shelby.
Another,
Thank you.
I was not aware of this until last year when the Disabled Veterans of America, the DAV, put out a study about women veterans, and 1 in 3 women veterans have suffered military sexual trauma. And once I read that, I I had the blessing of having a strong woman veteran that was working on our team who was designing outings where she said, "Hey, you can't come." And I didn't take it as offense. I realized like just the physical presence of myself as a man and being in that space threatened some of the mental health outcomes that we can see. And so now that we have that type of data, now that we know what population that we're serving, what does it look like to create those cohorts and resource them appropriately? And that it seems like the common sense.
Yeah.
One of the last things that I did in the Marine Corps was try to integrate women into combat military occupational specialties. Having worked with infantry units, we didn't have women. I didn't work with a woman for 5 years directly in my unit. And so those are skills that have to be learned and taught as well. And if we equip the right people, organizations, we can do that outside.
Yeah, and I think that the healing that takes place by these people being able to go outside, by these veterans, not these people, by these veterans, by these current military members to go outside is so important and giving them resources. Is that some of the advocating when you talk about the Sierra Club and the or military outdoor advocating? Is that sort of the advocating that you are working on with kind of state parks and whatever?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
One of the greatest success stories for me is that her name's Media Barnett, the same woman who was working with me at the Sierra Club, left the Sierra Club, started her own nonprofit called the Vet Space to address some of these issues for women veterans, and then became a grantee from the Military Outdoors program. And they just executed a women veterans outing in North Carolina where they had 40 women come together in the outdoors and do whatever the women do out there. And I say do whatever they do, not trivially, because I'm not seeking a desired set of outcomes or studies. I think there's goodness in just letting people be outside and see
100%.
what comes from that. And sometimes it's hard to articulate that on your impact reports, but
Mhm.
you can see it when you work with the people. And that's up to us to capture and tell those stories.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I have so many more questions for you, and we'll have to do maybe other episodes on this. But I think what's coming up for me is you've mentioned a lot of resources. And so if you're listening and you go to theparkspodcast.com and the episode page, I'm going to go find links to all the different things that you've mentioned, Sherman, so that there is a resource page. And I invite you, if you're listening and you know of a program, to please go to the contact us page on the podcast page or on our socials and just let me know, and I'll add links to that too, because I think that would be really helpful as people are listening. Okay, Military Outdoors is hosting a few events throughout November in celebration of Veterans Day. I don't know if you want to talk about a few of them, but I also want to make a note that I will link to that because there are some really cool events happening around the country in the next week, 2 weeks.
No, I appreciate that. List would be a podcast in and of itself,
Yeah,
but with a few is no, right here in Georgia, we're going to be doing a hike at Red Top Mountain State Park. What's important about that and how that ties into the Outdoors for All work is Red Top Mountain State Park was formerly named George Washington Carver State Park. George Washington Carver State Park was started after a Tuskegee Airman in 1950 returned from everything that goes with being a Tuskegee Airman to create a park, a segregated park at the time, for all people to come recreate. Not all people, but for people that didn't have access. That is the model for what we want to talk about from a power, and we can talk about that on those grounds. In the in the Bay Area with our Loma Prieta chapter. That's where we have our two volunteers, non-veterans, that are working with the VA directly to get out veterans that are frankly have physical disabilities. And we know that about half of I think it's 64% of veterans receive care at the VA in some way, shape, or form. And we have the able-bodied people in Georgia and some not able-bodied to make it adaptable. And then we have people doing that direct work. And then when we talk, I'll do the last one is in Minnesota. We have less intense. It's hey, s'mores and stargazing. It's
love it.
now, right? And so it's probably cold up there, but like I said, they're tough. And I guess I am in Minnesota, but it's just a full range of things when we
Yeah.
talk about erasure and everything going on at the current moment, keeping an eye and focus on veterans who need services the most, and then just having people build community and connection and not have to think about the world for a few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. What do we have to look forward to from Military Outdoors?
Expansion. We want to be in every, we say chapter, like every city. We want to see redundancies. We want to see new ideas flowing in. We want to see new leaders. We want to diversify our leader base. And we want to look towards the next hill to talk military a bit is we know that there's issues on the horizon. We know that we're going to have Gen Z veterans coming up soon. And frankly, I was one of the last people to deploy under combat conditions as a unit. And so now that we're not doing that, what type of mental health issues come with the COVID generation that is not kinetically involved, but have to deal with so much? And they're returning into a world where the opportunities are less to have jobs like mine. So It's going to continue to evolve. We're going to continue to do formal research, and we're going to continue to just find a way to give people space to figure that out outside.
And if someone wants to get involved, how can they join some of these activities?
The first thing, and I'll share contact here, they can do is contact myself or a teammate directly. They could also go to our website at Sierra Club Military Outdoors, and they could also get in touch with their local chapter at the Sierra Club as well. And there, there's no end to the amount of people that will quickly bring them in, try to resource them, get them CPR, first aid, outdoor leader trained, wilderness survival, and ready to design and help their community how they want to.
That's amazing. I also want to mention that this is airing on Veterans Day, and the Sierra Club is launching this beautiful video on their YouTube channel today. And so I recommend that everybody go watch it. Sherman, I like got chills. I needed tissues. I was tears in my eyes because it is just really powerful, the work that you and your colleagues are doing. It's really moving.
Yeah, I don't want to admit it out loud, but I wore shades in Minneapolis when I got to go on that sailing trip because we had about 50 veterans go sailing on Lake Biddy McCoska, and it was my first time doing it. But it was also many of their first times doing it, and those veterans came, the majority, from this housing community called Upper Post, and frankly, it's veterans that are having housing issues, and to see them come from there into a new space using public transportation directly planned and just having a good time. And then the email I got afterwards was not just about the good time, but hey, we found this new route to go sailing. Can we do it? And I just said, yes, it's up to me to find a way. But like, that's just cool and impactful to see it happen organically. Like, I can envision them in this housing community rather than thinking about their woes, thinking about the next time they can go outside to
Yeah.
program, which is, it's pretty awesome.
I think the video did an amazing job. Like, I felt the connection. I felt the curiosity and discovering that was taking place there. And it was just really a powerful way for me to feel connected to the program. And I'm really grateful to you all for letting me see it in advance of this episode. It'll be on on your YouTube, on Sierra Club's YouTube. I'll also link to it as well because it's beautiful. I think everybody needs to see it.
Thank you.
Okay, Sherman, we end every episode with a speed round of questions. No pressure, just answer with what first comes to mind.
Try my best. You see,
Okay.
I thought too much right in the first place. I'll do my best. Yeah.
Okay, what is your earliest park or public land memory?
Springbrook Prairie Preserve in Naperville, Illinois.
What made you love the parks?
Just being able to get lost and find new things with no schedule or pressures to do anything.
What is your favorite thing about our parks and public lands?
The diversity of what we have in this country, having been stationed in the desert and now living in Georgia and going in the woods and just being able to see so much here on our public lands.
What is your favorite thing to do in our parks and public lands?
Trail run. I'm a runner, and so I'll go trail run and probably get a little bit too lost, but it's my favorite thing to do.
What park have you yet to visit, but it's on your bucket list, and why?
That's a great question. Arctic, there, the Alaska and the refuges up there. I've not been to Alaska, and just the wildlife. I just want to see caribou, fish, and do all that stuff up there.
What are 3 must-haves you pack for a park visit?
A headlamp, a knife, and a water bottle.
What is your favorite campfire activity?
Telling stories and smoking a cigar.
Tent, camper, or cabin?
Tent,
Are you hiking with or without trekking poles?
without.
What is your favorite trail snack?
Beef jerky.
What is your best animal sighting?
That's a good one. I'll go with black bear.
What is your favorite sound in the park?
Owls.
And what is the greatest gift that parks give to us?
Peace.
Sherman, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing stories and the mission of Military Outdoors. It was an introduction to me, and I'm very grateful to you for that. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
That's it for today's episode. Happy Veterans Day to all. Until next time, we'll see you in the parks. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like and share on your favorite podcast platform. Music for the Parks podcast is performed and produced by Porter Hardy. For more information, please follow us on social media at The Parks Podcast or visit our website at theparkspodcast.com.